Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
I'm Robert O'Haver, SEO search engine marketing expert. Been in the business for over 13 years. With me today is Caleb McKelvin. Caleb.
What's up, Robert?
Not much. How you doing today?
Pretty good. I consider myself an expert as well. Others might disagree, but we'll just go with that. So, ready to talk some SEO and some digital marketing, man.
Although we call ourselves experts, I wouldn't say we're perfect.
No.
We don't get everything right, you know?
Well, nobody's perfect. At least that's what my mom told me. But nobody's perfect, especially when it comes to SEO. We just talk our knowledge, try to help others. Would love input from other SEO experts out there. So if you want to call in, 855-722-0006 and talk some SEO with us. But we got a good show lined up, a lot to talk about, and ready to get started.
Yeah. Now, last week we had a meetup group, and in the meetup group we had John Mueller, who is the webmaster trends analyst for Google. And we were really able to pick his brain, and he gave us a lot of insight last week. And we kind of wanted to go over that with everyone because it really is good, important information to have.
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah,
I'll have to admit it. He's a really nice guy. You read about him and you see him on Hangouts and stuff. You really don't know what to expect. But awesome guy, gave great insight. We kept asking if he would give us a little bit extra, but as always, he was kind of deferring, staying away from that question and only giving us what he could. But he gave us some awesome insight. We got some great questions from the individuals who were there, so it was really good.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody that did come and show their support and get. I'm sure they got some valuable information out of it too. I know I did. And
definitely.
Like I said, we've both been in the industry for a long time, and I learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah. One thing I did learn, Robert, is that any employee with Google they're going to, they're going to keep you on your toes. They're not going to give you too much insight. They're going to be very vague because they don't want to give out any secrets. But he did give us some awesome information that everybody in SEO who owns a website, anything they got going on with digital marketing or search engine optimization needs to hear.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I kind of read between the lines on some of the things he was saying.
Oh, yeah.
He has, by his, they have to be vague on everything.
Yeah.
Because of legal.
I'm not going to lie. Got a little aggravated when we started talking about link building because I knew what he was going to say, yet it always seems he contradicts himself. It always seems
towards the end he did.
All those big guys and the big wigs at Google seem to contradict themselves when it comes to link building, and we can touch on that a little bit. But yeah, I was, just kind of rolled my eyes a couple of times because link building is always that kind of issue. It's like a train wreck sometimes.
Yeah, he. To start, what he talked about was mobile sites, and gave us a lot of insight there as far as statistics. They found about 61% of people that go to mobile sites and have a bad experience, they don't come back. So, it's very important. You can't just have a mobile site. It's really got to be just as friendly as if you were on a desktop and easy to navigate, easy to understand. You can't just say, "Oh, I got a mobile website." It might look like crap on a mobile phone, and the navigation and all that stuff really needs just as much care as the website on a mobile device does.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. So everybody's using their mobile phone. Hardly anybody uses desktops unless they're sitting at their desk at work. Even at home, they don't use it. They're watching TV or they're outside or whatever they're doing. They're on their phone. I was even checking a website that I'm managing right now, just looking at the analytics, Google Analytics, which you should be using if you're not. And it's insane how much traffic is coming from mobile phone.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of it. And, if you don't have a mobile-friendly website, then you're hurting yourself.
Yeah. And what makes a mobile-friendly website, like I said, it's just like it would be on a desktop. It's the navigation, the content, and that's why Google kind of leans towards going with a responsive design because, with a jQuery site or whatever, you have to duplicate that content on another version of that page or whatever. But with a responsive template, it's all in one. You just had to make sure it lays out right and is easy to navigate and understand.
Yeah.
From a mobile standpoint.
He gave a statistic, and you kind of have it here in our notes, where 61% of users said they won't return to a site if it's not mobile friendly. So basically right there, any traffic you are going to have or any traffic you do have, don't expect them to return because, they don't think that you have a quality product. And so they're not going to come back. They're going to find somebody else that does. So really having that mobile friendly site, is going to keep your current audience keep coming back, and those new ones you're going to gain that new audience as well.
Right. And think about it. If you go to a site and you have a bad experience, who are you going to go to? Visit the competitors.
Yeah.
And in these statistics, it says, over 40% of the people that they surveyed here, which are in the thousands, by the way, would go to a competitor site if they had a bad experience with the first site they landed on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do it. I'm a little bit of a sports junkie, especially when football season comes up. I like to stay on top of what's happening around the leagues and stuff like that. And I went to a site the other day on my phone, and it was just so hard to navigate on mobile, and it was big, it was chunky, it was ugly. And so the first thing I did was, well, okay, their competitor is so-and-so, typed theirs in, and their mobile site was awesome. And so that's the one I'm going to continue to use from here on out. So, you could lose a lot of your audience and really turn people off with that ugly or non-interactive or non-friendly site.
Yeah. Now, we got all this from John Mueller, so this is set in stone. This is from Google, but I want to give you the lowdown on what Google does when you don't have a mobile site. Now, it depends on your niche and how many people other than your competitors, if they're mobile or not. But if somebody does a search and it's highly relevant to your site, you're still going to come up in search. It doesn't mean that because you don't have a mobile site, you're not going to come up. But if you and another site and you're kind of apples to apples there, they're going to show the mobile site versus your site first. But it doesn't mean you're not going to come up high in the search. But to do yourself and your customers a service is you should be mobile friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of those getting all your ducks in a row. I mean, you might see some rankings from it, or you might not drop off that bad, or whatever niche you may be in. It might take a toll on it, but this is having all your ducks in a row, and this is one major duck that you have to have lined up and secured. So just for our listeners out there, Robert, do you have any tips on them on how they can make their website mobile friendly if it's currently not?
It would take it's probably less cost effective to just, unless you have thousands of pages, to probably redesign your site. You can have someone build it and frame it into, it's kind of a hack job, so to speak.
Yeah.
It really isn't the correct way of doing things if you want to have clean code and all that good stuff. But depending on how many pages you have in your site, it probably would make sense to maybe have another site developed. And websites' shelf life is only 5 years, if that, nowadays. So it's important to get that, if it's time for a refresh on your site, then, that's probably the way to go.
Right.
Also on mobile apps, if you have a mobile version of your site, and you can create a mobile app version of your site, which is basically it's a link icon on your phone to your mobile site. It looks like it's native and like it's part of your phone, like it's in the app, but it's not. You can create this, and it's very advantageous to do that because Google now shows apps in search results, whether it's a desktop or mobile. And that's a big deal because you can show your site plus the app, and if you mark it up in schema, I believe, it will show, stars and all this good stuff, a description of your app right there in the search results.
Right. That's a huge advantage. That's a major advantage. You talk about user-friendly and convenience. You're providing it all right there for them. And the fact that they're going to include these in the search results, this app, which some are doing it right now very effectively, that's going to give you a major advantage because you're going to have your site, you're going to have that mobile app right there ranking, and just like you said, with that description, with the kind of the rankings and reviews on it right there, the more positive feedback and the more it shows up, the more people are going to use it.
Yeah, and those things help your site as well. But, I mean, as far as maybe not indirectly, but it will give you credibility.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a huge credit.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at it, and one of the things that we're so accustomed to, and one of the conveniences that we all love, is our mobile apps, because we don't have to open up a web browser, we don't have to search, wait on load times, and all this kind of stuff. Having that direct access is providing that user quality, that user experience, and really making it convenient for the user. And so it's going to have so many advantages. Yeah,
and it's there is some technical things that need to be done in order to make that happen. But you get a web developer or someone that's pretty savvy, they can set that up for you. But it's definitely recommended. If you've got a ton of traffic, a mobile app is probably a great thing, and it'll help your users, with purchasing or navigating your site.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you said, it's all about that. It increases your credibility. I mean, so much just having that there, and you see it, and it's like, okay, well, they're the real deal. They have an app. Obviously, people are using it, and maybe I should too.
Yeah, it's now another thing John went over some of the critical errors people are having with their mobile sites, and I want to go over a couple of those with you. Not just in mobile, some of this actually relates to desktop as well. But some of the common critical errors you'll see on a mobile site is embedded content that's been blocked by a robots.txt file. One of the things that John had said with a robots.txt file, before you kind of had to block like your if you're in WordPress, your plugins and your WP admin. And he made a good point in the meetup that we had. He said that let me back up for a minute. Google now can index JavaScript, jQuery, all that stuff now, and understand how that script works. If you block, and it helps Google to understand the layout of your site. So if you block that in your if some of your plugins are part of your content on your site, then if you block that, Google can't understand how your site is laid out, and then it's gonna cause problems because it's a user experience. So if Google looks at it and says, this thing's missing content or something, then you're not going to rank you as high.
Right. Right. Just throwing it out there, 855-722-0006, phone number to the show. Call on in. You got Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, SEO experts, Digital Duo Show. Call on in, 855-722-0006, whether it's on topic, off topic, questions you may have. We're here to help.
Okay. And then also, and this goes for both desktop and mobile, is Flash. If you have Flash content on your site, Google can't see it. If it's a video, if it's, a Flash content, I don't know who anymore has Flash websites, but John Mueller says there's still a lot out there. But Google can't crawl that information, even if it, nowadays it can it'll view a site just like it was in a browser. So but in the case of Flash, which is not supported anymore, especially for mobile, they can't they can't crawl that content. It's all embedded in that player. It's basically a player. That's what it is. So unless you have some kind of markup that describes what's on the page, like your title tag and meta description, that's the only thing it's going to get. So it's not going to find those pages relevant. And it's definitely not going to send mobile users to your site because there isn't a device that supports it anymore. Do you want to add something, Caleb?
I'm listening to you, brother.
Okay.
Like I said, we learn things from each other all the time, so I'm learning from you.
Yes. Let's see what else we got. Broken redirects. That's another thing that he says he sees a lot of is, you really need to keep on it as far as what Google has indexed on your site. And you can do this by using, one of the tools, many tools out there. It could be, SEMrush, Href. It could be Moz. I tried to name that one last because I was talking about Moz.
That's always your go-to.
But, it's important. You can also use a tool called Crazy Frog. And in fact, that's one of the things that John Mueller had, not Crazy Frog.
Screaming Frog.
Screaming Frog. That's the
one of those.
Frog, yeah. But anyway, to check the site and look for 404s. Now, this is also a great tool. I'm just kind of jumping around here, but Screaming Frog is also great for finding broken 404s for links. Right, Caleb?
Yes, it is.
You can touch on that, right?
Oh, yeah. Finding those 404s. We touched on it last week.
Yeah.
Finding those 404s against mainly your competitors' 404s. We touched on it last week how if you're on a site, and whether it's a blog or a website, maybe it's a resource listing, maybe it's, whatever it may be, if you see a broken link on a page that's relevant to what you're doing or what you can provide, that's a link opportunity right there. That's something you can reach out to, and not only you're helping yourself, but you're also helping that website and their user experience, because nobody wants broken links on their page. Nobody wants to be linking to a dead page. And so reaching out to them and just saying, hey, you have this dead link on you're linking to this page, which is a 404, the dead link, it's not working. I see you're linking to them. I just happen to have this content that's very similar, that could be very helpful for your readers, very helpful for your audience. Or, I see you have this listed as a resource. Yes, it's linking to a dead page. I'm just happen to be the same kind of resource. It's a very reputable and a high authority resource that, if you would like to link to it, it'd be beneficial for you and myself. And you create a relationship right there. The one thing to remember, though, is if it is branded, if you're Joe Company and it's Brandon Company, and it's branded as Brandon Company, you don't want to link that to you. It's a general term, whatever they have the anchor text as. If it's not branded, then there's your opportunity. But of course, if it's branded, then it's not really something you want to go after. But finding those 404s and your competitors using the tools like Screaming Frog or
and that's a free one, by the way.
Yeah.
That's open source.
Or SEMrush.
You can't afford to use those big, expensive tools like Moz.
Like Moz.
Yeah.
Ahrefs, that can get kind of expensive. Raven Tools, I don't think we've thrown that out there yet, is also a really good one for this. It's an awesome competitor analysis, even to see where your competitors are, where they're linking to and who's linking to them. There's opportunities right there. Raven Tools is a really good one for that. You got a lot of potential right there, because obviously if people are willing to either let one of your competitors write for them or link to one of your competitors, then they are also could be willing to link to you if you have that quality. But back on 404s, like I said, we called it link jacking. So you're jacking those 404s, and that's definitely something you don't want to spend all your time on. But if you see that there's an opportunity there on a high authority site to get a very high quality natural link, then it's definitely something to take advantage of.
Right. And you definitely want to take care of, if it's on your site anyway, 404s, because I think as we talked about last week is that, 404s don't pass link juice from other sites.
No, you're losing all that.
So it's important to 301 redirect those or, put a page there so it doesn't 404.
Right.
Let's see. On to the next. Oh, okay. Here's the other one. Now, Google uses a iPhone bot, Google bot, that is what spiders mobile sites. And I guess because they're using iPhone, it doesn't actually know the difference between a pop-up and a page. I'm sorry, I'm punning on Apple there. No, but if you have a pop-up on a mobile website, that iPhone Google bot that spiders the site will spider the pop-up and not the page that it pops up on. So you don't want to have pop-ups on mobile pages, because you're going to be indexing that pop-up.
Yeah, And you don't want to index that pop-up.
And that's straight from John. These are some of the major problems they're having with mobile sites.
Plus, they can get annoying. There's that little X at the top right that you accidentally hit, and then it goes to something, and I cancel out of it once that happens. So
yeah. And the other thing you want to pay attention to is load times of the site. Your mobile site's got to be just like your regular site. Both of those sites need to load fast because, more than that is a huge ranking factor. I have seen huge jumps in rankings just from making a site load 3 seconds faster.
Yeah, and that's something to continually monitor because you might add something to your site or, just change something, and it could change your load time drastically. And so that's something you definitely want to keep track of because it will impact your rankings.
Yeah. And those can, if there's errors on your page and you're not paying attention to this stuff, it can lower your rankings, if you're not on top of it. And you can also, to make sure that your site is mobile friendly, you can use the Google mobile friendly testing tool. And that testing tool, basically, you just Google that in there, and you'll find the page. Make sure you're logged into Google, and you can put your URL in there, and it'll tell you if there's any errors or if it's mobile friendly or not. And then you can also go inside the Search Console of Google Search Console, and you can find in the mobile friendly area or in the mobile usability report, you can find out any errors there, like if there's 404s, if there's some kind of JavaScript errors or, anything that possibly could be going on. Again, we throw you back at that console. And again, for those of you who don't understand, the Search Console used to be Webmaster Tools.
Yeah, he kept saying Search Console.
Yeah.
Google Search Console.
The URL is still the same, but they're calling it Search Console.
Yeah, he's adamant about that. Just a refresher, 855-722-0006, 855-722-0006. Call on in. Any questions, concerns, comments that you may have on SEO, digital marketing, social media, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And another way that you can test your mobile-friendly site is if you want to see what it looks like in an iPhone or an iPad or an Android phone. If you have a Windows machine, you can hit Control-Shift-I if you're in Chrome, or if you're on a Mac, you can hit Command-Opt-I, and those will pull up what is it called? Firebug, and that is a developer tool that will actually show you at the top. There's an option for device, and you can drop down to whatever device you want to look at just to test that out. And see what it looks like as a mobile device, and that you can use that to kind of gauge, if it's user friendly or not. Let's see. And also remember, like I said earlier, Googlebot can spider JavaScript or jQuery or anything that renders it just like a browser. So it'll render the page and then read the content. So you don't have to worry about, used to it couldn't read that stuff. So if you had a Java-based menu or something like that, before Google couldn't read that, and it was an index nightmare. Caleb, you got anything?
No, I'm looking through these notes.
Okay. And let's see, we talked about robots text. Kind of skipped through that there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to find out what you can use and what you should use and shouldn't use in robots text file, you can look for in the Googlebot's order of precedence page. It's a Google. If you Google robots text order of precedence, that page will give you how and what to put in that robots text file. And the other thing I didn't mention that's a huge problem is both on the mobile and the desktop side is people put out their site and forget to unblock it from the search engines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sounds simple, but...
Well, they Google themselves and they're like, I'm not showing up for anything.
And the other one's 301s. They forget to do that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, on the next topic, I would say is a really important one, and we kind of drilled him a little bit on this because, everybody in that meetup was more about ranking, and he kind of, explained a lot of things to us as far as security and why you should do it. HTTPS, it secures your website. There's a lot of good reasons why you want to protect your site and the users that are on the site. One of the things that he had mentioned that that are happening are different kind of hacks, like ISPs that will inject, like, say if you have ads on your site, it'll inject their own code into your ad thing. You won't know it, and you won't even know anything ever happened, but instead of you getting paid for that advertising you have on your site, someone else is getting paid.
Yeah.
Which is quite amazing.
Yeah. No, he kept talking HTTPS. He kept saying it's not a fad. It's something that is going to stay around and increase, and the importance of it, of keeping your site protected. And so, yeah, I mean, at some point you're going to run into an issue, where you're going to need to protect your site. This is just a way to make sure it is secure for you and your users, and make sure that, this kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah, I should have cleaned up my notes. It says also here that, another thing that hackers are doing is they are injecting content and links into your site. So they'll go in and they'll put links to their sites or other sites, so they get link credit off of your site.
Yeah.
And then they might even put Viagra commercials or advertisements or articles on your site just to help rank their site.
Yeah, and they'll load your site up, and it'll look like a big old link farm and stuff like that. And while Google can understand, certain link structures and what's going on, who's linking to you and who you're linking to, something like that is going to throw up a red flag and possibly get you down a manual penalty or something of that nature. So having your site protected can prevent that kind of stuff from happening.
Yeah, and Google sees a lot of sites that have people hacking, and it's really called a man-in-the-middle type of, or phishing type of incident, where they'll monitor your site, and in the minute someone fills out a form on your site, whether it just be regular old contact information or they're filling out an order to purchase something, that person captures that data. As soon as they hit submit, that person catches it. And then guess what? Your customer's lost their, credit card numbers and all kinds of stuff. It doesn't matter if you're an e-commerce site or not. I mean, it's good to protect yourself and your website and your customer foremost.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, just to give you an instance, and I think I mentioned this in a previous show, I had been hacked. I had a WordPress site that was hacked, and it was quite creative, whoever did it. I had created I was an admin on the site, and at the minute I created a new admin for someone who was adding to the site, and I clicked that the check down there where it says send password and information to the new admin. Well, guess what? It was a phishing attack, and it's where they caught that information as soon as it was submitted. That person had the information to my website. They were able to log in as an admin, lock out everybody else on the site, and then we were screwed, literally. Luckily, my experience, I was able to go into the server, reset all the passwords, and lock out that account that I had set up. So we were able to fix it. I mean, it actually took 3 or 4 times before he actually stopped the attack. And then because it's automated, but it's set up to, as soon as it gets the login and stuff, it logs into the WordPress and resets all the passwords. It's quite crazy.
It is crazy. It's just how easy it is, though. It's amazing. But one thing he did say, Robert, and I see you have it here on the notes, and I think it's something that all site owners need to make sure to kind of take to heart a little bit, is if your site is hacked, it's not only important to find out, how you were hacked, or to fix the hack, but it's important to find out how you were hacked so you can prevent it in the future. And I think that's one thing that many people they fix it and they're like, okay, it's fixed, let's move on, and then something else will happen. So if you are hacked, if something does happen to you, it's not only important to fix it, but find out how, do some research on it, how you were hacked, who it's happening to, how it's happening, and so you can prevent future attacks from occurring to your website, and learn up on other ways that people are hacking websites. So you can see if you are vulnerable, then you can protect that as well.
Yeah, and also you need to, if there's plugins or modules that you're not using in your WordPress, delete them, because those could be possible potential ways for them to get into your site. Not all plugins are bad, but there are some out there that, if they're not being used, ditch them. Get rid of them. Let's see. Let's see if I had a question. No questions. Now having your site secure also will give you a little bump in ranks. It's not a big one. In fact, what it does is it's almost like mobile. What it'll do is it'll say, if you had two sites that are very similar and same kind of linking scheme and all that stuff, Google's going to take the one that has the SSL over the one that doesn't. So it's just a wee little bit of a change.
Yeah.
But, it may be worth it to you. It depends. But, again, the number here is 855-722-0006. Again, call in. We are here for another half hour. The number again is 855-722-0006. We don't have to talk about SEO. It can be Facebook marketing. It could be social media. It could be whatever's on your mind. AdWords. We know those things, and if it's something we don't know, we'll find out for you and let you know in the next show. But
and if you got a link building question, call on in. I love link building questions.
Yeah, and John Mueller also confirmed to me something that I was kind of shocked, because there's always been speculation that the Panda and Penguin algorithm, they work different for local sites. And that even, what is it? I don't want to say his name anyway. There was a huge speculation in the SEO world that those algorithms work different for local sites as opposed to, it's just a blanket across, internationally. And that's the case. And I was quite surprised, because I've seen several local sites have a lot of spam. Just terrible when they rank real high in the search engines.
Yeah, they'll be kind of keyword loaded up just all the way across and just spammy as all get out. And
the funny thing is, they were SEO companies.
Yeah, well,
some of them.
Yeah, some of them. That's the crazy thing about it. But he did touch on that, and he said it was, it's kind of a one size fits all. And you're right. You see some of these sites that are ranking locally, and it's just why, what's going on with it. And so I don't know if they are continuing to kind of better that for the local search, but he did say it is the same across the board. So I would like to see local searches, not see stuff like that as we continue to see, and hopefully that doesn't happen in the future.
Yes, definitely. So, and the other thing he suggested too, if you do see sites that are spammy like that, report them to Google. There's a specific page you can go to and actually report spammy sites.
Yeah.
Because Google wants that information, A, to improve the algorithms, and B, to just, put a penalty on these sites if they need to.
And don't feel like you're snitching.
Yeah.
It's actually really important too, because there's so many people and so many sites doing things right, and there's a few that are trying to manipulate the system that are ruining it for everybody. And so, Google can always improve, search can always improve. And so, if you see one that is extremely spammy, which we have, Robert, we've seen a few that are kind of ridiculous, then reporting them is going to benefit everybody.
Yeah, and in the long run, it will improve. It'll trickle down to the algorithms.
Yeah.
And all that stuff will go away, just making the user experience better. And that's what Google's goal is, to give you the best search results.
Yeah.
So another shocking thing that we found out, too, is, another speculation in the SEO industry was that Google uses, and I even kind of believe this, too, and I still kind of do. Maybe it was just not said in the way it, to really put it out there. But Google says they do not use Google Analytics at all for ranking, spidering, or anything.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what he
I
said.
know he said it, but that's kind of crazy. Don't you think?
Well, here's my thing, and I think there was something hidden there in that conversation, because how do they tell if a visitor bounces, unless they're going from the server information, or if they're going through the site? They can't go anywhere else but analytics.
They have to use analytics for certain statistics like that. They have to use analytics.
They can't get to the server logs,
and these are ranking factors. I mean, bounce rate's a ranking factor, and if they're not able to see that, how are they considering that into how they're ranking sites?
Yeah, and then let's see.
I mean, he said it, which I guess you have to believe him, and it's John Mueller saying it, but I still think there's something kind of hidden behind the curtain right there. Yeah,
and the way he said it, though, is they do it on a large scale, like an aggregate scale across all sites, across the whole web, depending on genre and all that stuff. Like, they take that information, they don't go to one person's, analytics and say, we should rank these guys.
Yeah.
They look at all the data in a big, giant, ball of data.
Yeah.
And then they look at it and say, okay, this is how we tweak our algorithms, and maybe we need to try this. And if maybe something fell off, maybe they did something wrong, but they use it for testing to improve the algorithms, but on an aggregate scale, so across many, many sites. But that was surprising to me. I still I can't figure it out. Like, they have to look at that data. Maybe if it's automated somehow, but they've got to, that's got to be a sign.
At some scale, they look at the data from Google Analytics.
Man, if they did that for each niche, you'd think that would even help more than a link would or something,
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's so many signals there. It's like how long are they on the site? How much do they bounce? Did they purchase? What's the conversion rates? All that stuff. That should be a factor, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. You want to talk about the tech
SEO?
You want me to do it?
I kind of want to get to the duplicate content.
All right, I'll let you do that. All right, now the next one is technical SEO stuff that, that are, that cause issues with sites, whether it be mobile or desktop. And we already talked about load times and robots text files, broken links. We talked about that. Another very important thing is sites that are not doing, or sitemaps. A sitemap, it's a sitemap.xml, and what that is, it's a file that tells Google, and you have to submit that in your Search Console or Webmaster Tools, previously called, to Google, and it's exactly what it's called, a sitemap.
Yeah,
it's a map to the site.
It's their outline. It makes it easier for them to crawl. There's no guessing or anything like that. You're basically giving them the direction of where to go, and like I said, it makes it easier for them to crawl the site, and your pages are going to get indexed much quicker. Things are going to be simpler on both sides, so that's definitely a huge component that you need to have.
Yeah, and it'll even crawl pages that it didn't previously find. So it's important, and those pages will rank because they weren't previously spidered or indexed.
Yeah.
Let's see. The other thing too is rendering the way your user experience is rendered, whether it be on mobile or desktop. Those things need to be in check. They have to be very. We kind of touched on this, but good, easy navigation, easy to get to pages they're looking for, load times, all that stuff is we kind of covered that. Your titles and descriptions need to be very descriptive in the product or niche that you're in.
And if you, one thing, Rob, I know I'm going to be Robert here. If you're wondering how long should titles be or what it's going to look like, Moz has a great tool where you can type in the titles and you can type in the descriptions. It'll tell you if it's too long or, it'll give you what the snippet is going to look like. So if you're like, oh, I don't know how long it's going to be or how do I monitor that, use that. I'll always pull that up in a separate browser, and just if I'm typing a title and description, I'll type it in, see what it looks like, make sure everything looks good, and it's clear, because you don't want that ... at the end of your description or anything like that when it does show up in the search results. So titles and descriptions are big, but use that tool, pull up one, and that'll help you monitor how it's going to look in the results.
Yeah, and Rena just asked a question on Mixler. What kind of effect will redoing an old post completely have on my ranking? I have some old posts that need to be redone. You want to answer that?
What do you think?
I think that you should always write fresh content. I wouldn't bother trying to. I mean, I guess you could repurpose it if you changed it up enough. I mean, if it's only like a 35%, I wouldn't do it. But if it's it's a 50, 60, 70% difference in what you had previously, I would do it. Now, if you're ranking for that particular post, I would not change it.
No,
I would create another one, very different. If you're ranking for it, that means that's some signals that are saying, hey, you're going to get traffic for that. So, in some of the videos I have on my YouTube channel, like creating viral content, I think it's a great thing you might want to watch if you can. It will tell you how to look up for, topics on your posts and what to write about that will really can possibly go viral.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on the main thing is if it is ranking and you're getting traffic to it, and if it is, if it's ranking high, then there's not much you want to change from it or anything at all. One thing you can do is take certain ideas from that post or page or certain topics, kind of break it down and create whole new fresh content, because you always want fresh content for your site. Don't change anything, just create something new from that. You can refer to that in your new post, but create something new from that. But, if it's something that people are really interested in, then expand on it and take something out of it and, run with that, or make a series out of it, or take certain things from it, make multiple posts. But if it's ranking, I wouldn't really change anything from it.
Yeah, but again, I can't stress on it. You really need to make it different. Yes,
make it different. You don't want the same thing talked about or duplicate content or anything like that. Make it different. Make it fresh. Make it new. Make it quality.
Yeah, it's good. Just think about it. It's got to offer something new that the other one didn't.
Yeah.
Let's see, and also you also want to make sure that you use clear signals on your site. What you're trying to rank for, or if it's a local site, you want to make sure you use local citations. We talked about that in previous episodes. Canonical tags, you want to use those, especially if you're in a blog situation where you might have multiple pages with the same content. You want to make sure that one points to the original, and not having two different things out there. Or you can do what's called a no index follow, which means Google will spider or crawl that page, but it won't index it.
Yeah. One thing I do like to do is semantic search. So however people are finding that particular post, whatever keyword phrase they may be typing in, go to your browser, just type part of it in Google and see what else finishes out. So they might be searching for one thing and it might tack on a whole nother idea, but just start typing it in and you see the ideas, the suggestions that Google gives you. And that could be a content idea right there that you can expand on. And so semantic search can be very helpful in that way in giving you a whole new, fresh idea on the same topic. I see a lot of actually really good blogs that do they do new ideas on the same topic, and they keep getting traffic from that. So if you can create new, fresh, quality ideas that people are interested in and that people are searching for, then, you could have something right there.
Yeah, or even build on what you already have. Like, if you have that post that's ranking high, add to it, add more to it. Not to the same page, but maybe, another episode.
Make it. I love series. That's what's one great way. I'm not the greatest writer, but I do write. And one thing I like to do is create a series out of it. And they become popular because if you can continue something on, if they like what you wrote the first time, they're going to want to come back and see, okay, well, how do they expand on it? What's different? How do they change it? If you're doing like a pros and cons, do a pros and cons, whatever it may be. But, you know, it's all about that fresh content and quality content.
Right. Now, moving on, you also want to go into your Search Console or Webmaster Tools, whatever you want to call it, and make sure you tell Google what domain you want indexed, how you want your domain indexed. Do you want it www.mywebsite.com or do you want the non-www version? It's very important because Google will spider right now. If you don't tell it, it will spider both. In some cases, it'll take the same page with non-dub, dub, and dub, and call them duplicate content because it doesn't understand those are the same page but just structured different. So that's important to do that in web, and that's a big problem they always have. They're having. And the other one, 301 redirects, we did cover that. Session parameters. Now, what a session parameter is when Google spiders a site and loads a page, it'll give you a certain URL. But with session parameters, each time you go to that page, that URL changes. So basically what happens is Google ends up indexing an infinite amount of the same page. And then you've got massive amounts of duplicate content.
Yeah.
According to Google. And it could cause you some problems. But why anybody, I mean, there are sites out there, and I've seen them, that do use session parameters, but I highly recommend you not do that, especially if you're an e-commerce site or something. You really want to get those pages. And in a case where you are using those session parameters, I would use a canonical tag. So Google says, yes, I know this is the URL to index.
Yeah.
Because that could cause a lot of problems.
Yes, it could.
Now, Caleb, you want to talk about duplicate content?
Duplicate content. So one thing that he touched on, and when you hear duplicate content, it kind of hurts my ears because, you know, we've learned so long that it's been bad. Any type of duplicate content is bad. And just to throw it out there, if you got any questions about what we are talking about, or we had a great question just a few moments ago, and we'd love more, 855-722-0006. 855-722-0006. Call on in and with your questions, and hopefully we have the answers. But with the duplicate content, he did say a site will not get penalized if the content is from the same site. So, you know, if you happen to have, if you have an infinite scroll and you have the entire post there, but you can click on the post and then it goes to another page with the same content on there, it says that they're not going to penalize you for that, or, you know, they might recognize it as duplicate content, but it's basically, in layman's terms, it's really not that big of a deal because they're only going to show one of them in the results, and it'll devalue the other, which I thought, Rob, was kind of weird because haven't you, I mean, we've always talked about duplicate content's bad. Even on your same site, you don't want duplicate content. You definitely don't want duplicate titles and descriptions. That's a definite no-no. But the fact that you can have duplicate content on your site and you're really not going to get penalized for it, or they're just going to like shrug their shoulders and just take one of them, I thought that was a little crazy.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, you don't want Google to sit there and index a page. It's devalued anyway. I mean, I think that doing the no index follow to at least let it ignore the page but follow the links.
Follow the links.
It's probably the best way to go. Or
and that canonical tag.
Yeah, exactly.
That canonical tag is going to tell which one it needs to refer to as this is the page you need to index. This is the one you need to focus on. So if you are going to have that duplicate content, you know, if you do happen to have a situation where the same content is going to be on two different pages, you need to do that, just like Rob said, the no index, no follow, or you need to have that canonical tag on there to make sure it knows which one it needs to focus on and which one it's going to index, and kind of just forget about the other one. But those are two things you need to make sure you need to do. I wouldn't suggest having duplicate content on your site, even though they are kind of shrug their shoulders at it. But if you are going to, those are two measures that you need to take. But it's still going to penalize your site if you are duplicating content and copying content from another site.
Right.
So you do not want to pull content. If you see awesome content on one site and you're like, ooh, they're getting a lot of traffic, let's see what I can do on my site. You still don't want to do that. And if you think that people are pulling it from your site, Copyscape, right, Rob? You can find that duplicate content. What sites are using that same content. So
hang on one second. I did want to add to that. Now, an easy way for a person that has a blog or, that gets that, those category pages and, you have your articles leading off of those, the easiest way to combat that, so you're not having to go into each article and do no follows and all indexes, that stuff. You can just index the category page and follow it. So what happens is Google ignores that main page, but it indexes all of your articles, and that's what you want to rank. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know, this whole duplicate content thing, just stay away from it.
You're not going to get penalized if it's on your site.
You're not going to get penalized if it's on your site. Just make sure you take the right steps to let Google know that, hey, this is where you need to look. This is what you need to do. But like we always say, don't pull content from another site and duplicate it. That's going to get you into a penalty.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And the other thing, too, to avoid duplicate contact is if you're using tags, block those, too. Because what tags do is every time you add a tag to an article or a post, it's going to add a new page to that. And basically, you have duplicate of every a lot of people go crazy. They'll put up 10, 15 words related to that topic. But it ends up, giving them tons of pages. And it just kind of makes your site just full of a bunch of stuff that's not going to get indexed.
Yeah.
And your goal is to get it indexed. So you can block those using Yoast or whatever to block the tags.
Yeah.
All right. So on to that. But like you said, Copyscape is a great tool to use. You just put in the URL. It'll look over the entire web, and then it'll highlight the text in the results that it gives you. You click on that, and it'll put your page and the page it came from side by side, and it'll highlight all the text so you can actually see where the copy came from. And that's important if you had somebody else build your website or somebody else creating content for your site. I hate to say it, but there's scammers out there. They'll copy and paste a site, and so you pay them $30 or whatever for an article, and it turns out it belonged to somebody else in the past. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to use it.
Yeah. I know we only have 7 minutes left of the show. I do want to touch on Google's view on link building. Here's the crazy thing, Rob, is straight from John Mueller, is he doesn't recommend it.
Now, look at the white lines.
I know. He says he does not recommend link building.
But if it makes sense, if it's something you're doing to build traffic and promote your site as not for link building, but for, say you put a link on Amazon because Amazon's going to bring you that traffic and promote your site the way you want, using that co-citation or whatever it may be to promote your site to bring the traffic, then he didn't say that was bad.
Yeah, I know. He didn't say that was bad. But what he did say was it's all about, shareable content, quality content,
right.
How many users are sharing your content. Well, that's all good if, you are this huge site that people go to. You have thousands and thousands and thousands of visitors a day. You could be Inc.com or the Washington Post or whatever it may be. Sure, people are going to start sharing your content, but if you have a blog site and you're writing content and stuff like that, and you don't have that big of a following, and or your demographic might not be sharing your content or whatever it may be, or if you're one of those smaller sites, how are you going to compete against those larger sites? How are you going to get those links, people linking to you, those larger quality sites, those big time authoritative sites linking to you, if you're not on that level yet? And link building is the only way to get there. Link building, to build those quality links, link building is the only way to get there, whether it's through outreach and,
blog or
writing quality guest posts for another site, which I highly recommend. And that's something I do personally, is not only because, I enjoy it, but, if I'm working for a client or have things going on, or for my own site, I write posts for other sites, and with linking to me, whether it's a branded text at the bottom, in the little bio, or linking to content on my page. I do it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The one thing you do need to make sure is that, one, the site is clean. It's authoritative site. It has traffic themselves. It's had really good quality. They know, it provides really good user experience. You need to make sure that there's been no penalties. It's got really good history. And build that relationship. And if you have a relationship with them, or you just want to reach out and say, I have a really awesome idea for a guest post for your audience that I would love to write, and your platform would be perfect for it. I think that's something that's very healthy for your backlink profile. So he did say he doesn't recommend it, and he says if you're able to promote your site and stuff like that, and shareable content, if you're just not there yet, there's still natural and quality link building methods that you can use. And if you are like a news site, or even if you are e-commerce site or whatever, you can still write that quality content, build those links to your site, and you don't have to do hundreds a month. If you get 3 or 4, then that's awesome. So
yeah, we got about 3 minutes, and I want to touch on this before we go. This was kind of a speculation that all SEOs have had, is social signals. He was very clear on this, and he says Google does not use social signals at all for ranking, indexing, or finding pages. He was very clear on that. He said, yes, they use it for some things, but it has nothing to do with ranking or indexing or finding pages. Because most of that stuff's no follow anyway, but really what social is about is being in front of your customers.
Yeah. That's it's just being interacting with your audience. It's not going to, if your tweet or Facebook post has been shared or commented on so many times, it's not necessarily going to, impact your rankings at all. So I always like to think that maybe that does play a factor, but like you said, he was very consistent on saying it they don't consider it when it comes to rankings.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're down to about 2 minutes. I think we're going to end the show. I want to thank everybody for their support and listening into the show.
Yes, thank you.
We're back every Tuesday from 3:30 to 4:30.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.